Hello, everybody. You've tuned in to the Indiana State Police Roadshow, brought to you by the Indiana State Police Alliance, Cops for Kids, subsidiary of the Indiana State Police Alliance. And Tom Trial, man who puts us on YouTube each and every week behind the scenes. Wave, Tom. We've had quite a bit going on this morning with our studio challenge, but we're up and running and going to be talking to a couple special guests here this morning. Got John Mall, retired ISP sergeant from the Indiana State Police. It was sergeant or first sergeant, John?
First sergeant.
First sergeant. That's what I thought. Yeah, when you retired. Indiana State Police retired First Sergeant John Mall, Public Information Officer slash E.O.D. And that's what we're here to talk about, too, with E.O.D. Another special guest here this morning with us. Good morning, Ken.
Good morning.
Ken Havens is with us, also E.O.D. slash. Now, is that Special Operations now? Is that where
it's considered under Special Operations, yeah.
Okay, Special Operations now slash E.O.D. with State Police. And this is kind of a special show because this is the 50th anniversary of the Explosive Ordnance Disposal Unit, Indiana State Police. And John, maybe you can help us out. Do you remember how it was started and why the Indiana State Police decided, hey, we need a bomb squad for state police?
Well, we started late in 1968, and 1968 was a very active year. Martin Luther King was assassinated. Ku Klux Klan was very active on demonstrations. There were several bombings and explosives in the country and in Indiana, and they decided that we needed a bomb squad here in Indiana to address those issues. So,
now, was that decided by the superintendent came down, or was that, from within thought, hey, we need to run this up the flagpole and see how that goes?
It was decided at our headquarters.
Okay.
And Keith Young and Jay Romack were both with the state police at that time. They were the ones who really pushed the program. So they sent firearms instructors to the first training at Camp Atterbury. We always figured it was because they thought we were expendable. But the firearms instructors were the first ones to get that training, and then they had a choice, or we had a choice, of whether we stayed with that type of program or got out of it.
Do you remember how many the initial training was for?
I think there were 12 of us to begin with. It was the firearms instructors primarily that instructed at the ISP State Police Academy.
Okay. And was that internal training, or did you have somebody from without?
The first one was strictly internal. Then subsequent training to that, when Superintendent Robert Conkle was superintendent, he brought one of our first professional trainers over from Ireland.
Okay.
And they put on.
They've seen quite a bit over there.
Yes, they have, and they put on some excellent training for us, and that's when we really got our foot in the door.
So you had 12 initial. Was that placed strategically around the state then, or?
Of those 12 that took that initial training, I think there were only 5 or 6 of us who didn't have enough sense to get out of it and stayed with it.
What was your initial equipment?
Very crude. We had pipe wrenches, vices, just hand tools primarily.
So a lot of this initial training involved hands-on disposal or hands-on render safe.
Hands-on render safe procedures, and very risky.
Yeah. And so how long were you on there before you attended Redstone Arsenal?
I didn't go to Redstone until early 80s.
Wow.
So it was quite a while.
Yeah. And then
Redstone did not come into existence until 1971.
Okay. So they had it quite a few years even before we sent anybody down there then.
Right.
So what was your procedures when you were called out? Was it walk down? Did you have flak vest? Did you have anything at all to look at your device with?
The only vest you had was, at that time, was what we purchased ourselves. And the bulletproof vest, which doesn't give you much protection in that situation. But, yeah, you had to do a hands-on and get an eye on it. We didn't have x-rays at that time, and they came about later. So we were also involved in disposing of practically tons of old dynamite that was reported here in the state, deteriorated, that people didn't know what to do about it. So they would call the state police, and we would go make those disposals.
Well, a lot of people probably don't realize that back in the day it was legal to purchase dynamite at your hardware store.
Yes, absolutely.
And most of your farmers would utilize that for disposal of stumps or whatever they needed to get rid of, and
they would buy a case and get 4 or 5 sticks and set the rest in the barn.
And you would come along 25 years later and dispose of that.
Right.
And just And discuss why. What was the problem with that?
Well, that was nitro-based dynamite, and it deteriorates. And once it deteriorates, it becomes more sensitive, and you got to be careful how you handle it.
Yeah, it has to be disposed of properly, or you could have a big explosion out of that.
Yeah, high order explosion.
Yeah. So I know when I started back in the day, also we had the old disruptor, which was pipe made with the old shotgun shells. Was that an invention of one of ours, or how did we come about that?
Well, that one was the black pipe disruptor was designed down at Redstone Arsenal once they came into operation. Before that, they wanted us to put the pipe bombs in a vise and actually spin the cap off. And
it's funny what we learn after a few times, isn't it?
and then we went to that disruptor, and then I had disruptors. I had a machinist make disruptors for us.
Right. Yeah, I remember those.
Heavier pipes, and they worked quite well, and they were good in tight spots. But then the pan disruptor commercially came along, which was state of the art.
And when what we're talking about a disruptor is something that's going to render safe a device without hopefully sending it off and having an explosion. But
and you're not right on top of it.
Yes, you're remotely away from it while it's doing that. And that was one of the big things even about the pipe was at least you had a safety fuse time lapse to get away from the device and get away.
Right. It put you in a safe area. We even kept a log on each of those barrels because the stress put on those with each shot, which was a hand-loaded 12-gauge shotgun shell that we loaded ourselves. And shooters or people with shotguns think of a shotgun shell, but we loaded the entire shell with powder, which changed the dynamics of it considerably.
I remember doing that in training, putting the old caulking in there with the and your safety fuse.
Bathtub caulk.
Yeah. Wow. Wow.
I probably wouldn't recognize the technology and the tools that Kent.
Well, we're going to talk about that with Kent here in a little bit. But before we get to that, so when was the EOR program started? I think I was one of the first ones on that.
You would probably know better than I.
89.
Yeah,
89. I know we went down to Camp Atterbury.
And that was a tremendous assistance to the technicians.
And that was a program started by the technicians, the ones who could actually render safe a device, was the explosive ordnance reconnaissance, which you were getting a lot of calls then. So we were kind of your eyes and ears and be on the scene to let you know what you were going to come up against. We
were running, at the time that I was a bomb squad commander, we were running from 35 to 37 calls a month, responses. And the EORs were invaluable because they were the first ones there to tell us what their needs were going to be. Yeah,
and then if it was, say, a threat or something, we could go in and assist the business, the school, the church, or whatever with their procedures and what to do, and
with their planning
and how to take place and what we needed to do when you guys got there, or if you even needed to show up, or what it was. So that was my first step in the door, and it set us up for Redstone, and I know that helped out tremendously, hasn't it, Kent?
Yeah, it did. I mean, if I can say one thing about that program, the EOR program was I think one of the biggest turning points for the squad, because it gave guys a chance to have a little bit of knowledge before they went down there. You know, it takes a long time to get a guy through school down there. It takes, once you get a guy picked to go down to school, it could take 18 months to get him in the door. So you want to send somebody down who's, number one, going to be able to be in the bomb suit and not be claustrophobic, because you can't freak out in that suit. You got to be able to work inside that suit. So we were sending guys down there with a little bit of knowledge ahead of time. We knew had capabilities because they'd been in the EOR program for a while. We knew what they could do. We saw what they could do out in the field, and it changed things tremendously for us. And that's why we still have the program today.
Yeah,
that's where we get our text from.
Yeah, it's a good learning place, and I know I saw it when I was down at Redstone was the guys that hadn't had anything, as opposed to us. You were leaps ahead. Of their learning curve, that what you knew.
You had an idea going in.
Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about the innovations that's come along. The X-rays, John. Back when I was doing it, and you were doing it, and I rolled into the computer, but it was the X-rays from the hospital. You went down, you took them, you hoped it was right. But if not, you were going back down again, right?
Right. What we were doing was using a portable X-ray film that we bought from Golden Engineering here in Indiana, which we were very fortunate, and are still fortunate, to have Golden Engineering. I think Kent,
right over there in your neck of the woods.
Right over at Centerville, and bought thousands and thousands of dollars worth of film through them. But you would take your X-ray, and then you had a portable processor process the film on site, and it was a tremendous improvement.
Yeah, you could at least see what was in there. But now we have...
Oh, it's all computerized. We can take an X-ray film. We shoot it the same way with a source. We fire X-rays into the film, but the film's reusable. We wrap it around what's called it's a little cylinder that fits inside what we call logo system is what we use now.
But and you can enhance it. You can colorize it.
Forgiving.
Yeah.
Like you said, if you messed up on yours, you had to go back down range. This cuts the time down for the tech going back down range. He doesn't have to go back down range make several trips. Now it's just one time down. We can get a good picture, and we can decide what's inside of it, and it's a lot faster, it's a lot easier, a lot safer. And
I think some of the biggest innovations that we've had as an ISP bomb squad has been the canines, the numbers of canines that we've brought up through the ranks. The bomb suits have become so much better than the old shield that fell down on the device when you were looking at it.
Right.
Yeah.
And the robot are the that you guys use as the platform.
We have 3 robots right now. We'd like to have more, but as you know, they're expensive. We started the canine program in 2004. Dave Pointer,
right,
of Capitol Police was our first dog radar. We're now up to 6 of those. They're invaluable.
Yes.
We use them for everything. I mean, we use them for all the events.
Well, not only E.O.D, but I've read even in ops reports and things of finding firearms because they're trained to find explosives or black powder or anything. So they've been out even doing that along highways and things.
Well, and a lot of credit go to the guys in the program because if you don't work a dog, it's going to be useless to you. These guys go out and they work these dogs day in and day out. I have 100% faith in these guys because I know how they train. I know what they're doing. I've seen other places before, not to downgrade other departments or anything like that, but I've seen other dogs that, you could lay a stick of dynamite out in front of the dog and the dog wouldn't sit on it.
Now, what's the size of the ISP E.O.D program right now?
As far as manpower?
Yeah.
We've got, including 3 guys from Capitol Police, we've got 12 that are full-time. We're getting ready to send another guy down here at the end of I think it's the end of August. We're going to send somebody down to school. And
that's still a 6-week program?
6-week program.
Redstone, Arsenal, Huntsville, Alabama.
I looked up the other day because the 50 is coming around. Since 1971, we've sent 42 members of the Indiana State Police that have graduated through hazard device school.
Wow. So, I didn't know that was a high number.
They sent me a list. I got a list and I figured it out, but there's been 42. So it's an elite group.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. When I started out and first went to Redstone, there was only 1,500 bomb technicians in the United States. That's a pretty small club.
Yeah.
For the entire nation.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is now, but it is an elite group, and it's a calling and a dedication that a person gets into.
Yeah, it is, and it's a thought process. Yeah. We're not a hurry up and go. It's kind of a slow method of methodology and thought process on what you do these, and you're much more into the hazmat and that type of devices now that you're looking at too.
It's constantly changing. I mean, we've got 4 guys, including myself, on a stabilization team now. This is RAD nuclear devices. We are on a task force with the FBI, and we train with them about once a month. So we're getting into that area also. It's changing.
Yeah.
And I've seen it. You worry. You worry where the world's going. I mean, we run probably close to 380, 400 calls a year.
Mm-hmm.
We keep very, very busy, and that's kind of, you wonder where the world's going because we are busy. It's good for us because we do keep busy, but you're thinking, okay, where are we going with all this?
Well, the training's out there. I'm glad you guys are utilizing it and getting it, and glad for the 50th anniversary of the State Police. And John, I appreciate you coming in here today and talking a little bit about the past.
You're welcome.
Appreciate you coming in here and talking about the future and where it's going at and what you guys do with us, and hopefully it'll be something that will continue to expand, and I'm sure it will because it's done good with the State Police. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Well, again, you've been listening to the Indiana State Police Roadshow, brought to you by the Indiana State Police Alliance, Cops for Kids. First Sergeant John Mall retired from the Indiana State Police Public Information Office, and Ken Havens, Indiana State Police Special Operations, E.O.D. We appreciate them coming in here today, the 50th anniversary of the Indiana State Police Explosive Ordnance Disposal Team. Thank you for listening to The Roadshow. We'll catch you again next week on The Roadshow. The Roadshow is out.